Welcome to my Hebrew channel, Miel Hebraica, and today I'm going to be looking at a very interesting word. It goes a long ways, bad, bad, and it is somewhat the way it sounds in English, being alone, being separate, being in danger of being destroyed, and so it can be, to be alone can be bad. Okay, so bad. It's a little bit easier way to kind of remember what this word is, bad. And we're going to take a survey of how it's used in the scriptures, this particular root, and it will help us understand a few more things about Etzer Kenegdo, about the helpmeet, about the one that stands in front of us. Genesis 2 verse 18, Jehovah God said, "It's not good for man to be alone. I will make for him a helpmeet." Vayomer Yahweh Elohim lo tov heyot Adam levado. E'eshe lo etzer kenegdo. And I will make for him a help that stands in front of him. That is, belongs to him or stands in front of him. And levedo is the alone, levad. The root is Bet Dalet. We're going to start with that, and then we're going to see how it's joined up with the other consonants in different forms. So let's begin the journey of where this word takes us. In Exodus, this is one of the reasons I picked this one, is this is one of the few places in the Bible where the word actually stands all by itself. So it's bad, and then it's this is bad bebad. It's here the portion on a portion, or in a portion, or with a portion. So portion by portion. Okay, bad bebad. Exodus 30 verse 34. Jehovah said to Moses, "Take for you aromatics, resin, onycha, galbanum." Aromatics and pure frankincense, portion by portion it should be. I'm going to have probably a hard time pronouncing the Hebrew as do the English here, or the English is going to be just as difficult as the Hebrew. Anyway, we'll go through it and see. These words aren't used a whole lot, so it makes it a little harder to pronounce them as we run along through it. So, Vayomer Yahweh el Moshe, and Jehovah said to Moses, Kach lecha, take for you. Shamim. Shamim are aromatics. It appears twice in our verse right here. Shomim, aromatics. Nataf, u shel helet, ve hel bena, shamim, u lebona, zakah, bad bebad. Portion by portion, yichya, it should be. This is the verb to be, and it's with the prefix form like here. We understand it as something that he should be doing after he hears this direction from God about how to do this. And also, in terms of the poles that are used to carry the ark, and this is an instruction on how those things are to be made. Badeh. Badeh are poles that have been pulled off, branches that have pulled off of trees so that they can be made into poles to carry the ark. So this is an instruction into how these poles should be made. He made poles of acacia wood and overlaid them with gold. Vayas badeh ezeh shitim yitzaf otam zahav. And then he made poles, staves, pieces of wood. Etzeh, this is wood, and shittim are acacia. Okay, when you see the place known as Bet Shittim across the Jordan, that's Shittim is used for that place. This is the place where the people of Israel were before they journeyed into the Promised Land. Now the sword shall swirl, or shall spin against their cities and consume the bars of their gates and devour them because of their own counsels. I've learned that this particular halach is the same as gil, so gimel lamed and chet lamed seem to work the same way. It's a family of verbs. Be halach, and there was spin or swirl. Herif, the sword, a sword. Be arav, against their cities. also means in their cities, but it's mostly against their cities. Be Arav, Be Kilta, and this will come to an end. It shall consume. Kilta. Badav. Badav are the bars that hold the gates shut. Okay, the ones that would provide security. Once you lose these bars, your house or your city does not have any security. So Badav. Achala, and they will be devoured. Achala. This is not a common because it has an atla right here. Achala. Mi moatzotechem, their own counsels of them. Okay, from their own counsels of them. It is a very complex word right here. And we have a very interesting description of another function of these poles, the habadim. Okay, they appear twice in this particular passage. 1 Kings 8:8. Habadim, the poles, the staves. Now the poles were so long that the ends of the poles were seen from the holy place before the inner sanctuary, but they could not be seen from the outside, and they are there to this day. Akriku, and this is akri is to be a crew, and is long enough. Okay, Akriku, they were long enough. Habadim, the poles. Yeru, and they were seen. Roshe, the heads of them. Badim, of the heads of the poles. Min HaKodesh, from the holy place. Alfane, that is before. Hadibir, the inner sanctuary. Hadibir, the temple or inner sanctuary. Velo Yeru, but they were not seen. So here they are seen, Yeru, and here's Lo Yeru. This is seen and this is not seen. Hahutsa, from the outside. From the outside. Va Yichvu Sham ad Hayom Hazeh, and they are there, Sham, that place there, ad, until Hayom Hazeh, until this very day, Hazeh is a demonstrative pronoun right here after the word Hayom, the day. And Ehud, this is another thing about Lebado. This is actually exactly the same construction that we see over in Genesis 2, and so it's interesting to make this comparison here with this particular passage. This is right at the point that Ehud is about to stab Eglon, and so it's an important detail in this particular story to find Eglon is there all by himself, and putting him sitting there by himself put him in danger. So he was about to be destroyed. So this is an interesting connection here about being alone and being destroyed. Judges 3 verse 20, and Ehud came to him as he was sitting in his ventilated upper room, which was for him alone. And Ehud said, I have a message from God for you. And he rose from his seat. And the message, of course, was the Lord wanted him dead. So that's what happened after that in the next verse. I've done a video on this particular sequence, and it's very interesting. Ehud ba elav, and Ehud came to him. Hu Yoshev, he was seated. Ba Aliyat, he was sitting in the upper room. Ha Mek Kera, that was ventilated or cool, a cool upper room. It was cool because it was second story. It had extra breezes because of the height there. And in Jericho, that's quite often what people did. They'd have a palace and then they put a second or third story on top of it so that they could catch the afternoon breezes there. Jericho is normally an extremely hot place, and to catch a breeze is a very good thing there. Aliyat ha Mekra Asher Lo, that was for him. Lebado, for him alone. In other words, this was a reserved place. This is here, you're all by yourself. Apparently Eglon liked his privacy, and his privacy resulted in his destruction. So it's an interesting connection here between Lebado, being alone, and being destroyed. Lebado. Vayomer, and he said, Ehud said, Dibar Elohim, word of the Lord, of God, Li, Elecha, from me to you, li elecha ve'yakom, and he rose up me'al from above or from over hakiseh. He stood up from his throne, from his seat. Leviticus 13:46, and this is in reference to somebody who has a swelling or has a wound that's not healing, and could also be leprosy, but it's just being unclean. In other words, the key word here is unclean. When somebody is unclean, in other words, the priest has looked at it and determined, no, this person cannot stay in the camp. He is contagious and he must be outside of the camp. So he shall remain unclean as long as he has disease. He's unclean. He shall live alone. His dwelling shall be outside the camp. Kol yameh asher ha-nigah bo, as long as he remains that way, bo, him, yit ma tameh, unclean. Hubada, he is unclean. This is yitma, unclean, tameh, unclean. Same word right here. This is the prefix form, and here's just the root form, tameh. Hu, him, is he right here. You have unclean here and unclean there. Okay. Hu badad, he alone. Okay, he shall live alone. Yoshbe. Yoshbe is to live, and alone he shall be mehutz, from outside, lema chane moshavo, and alone he will dwell from outside of the camp, and will be his dwelling place. That's his dwelling is moshavo. This is the noun form of this particular. Here's the verb form. Yashev, to dwell or to live. This is the noun of it, his dwelling. And so the Israelites separated, and this is yebadal. Badal is a verb that begins all the way from Genesis chapter 1, and God separates land and ocean, separates day and night, separates the heavenly bodies and souls. Yebadel, okay, their function is to separate things. Yebadel, and so the thing also works as a verb. So in other words, abad is when you are apart, and this is the action of making something apart. Okay, separating it out. Okay, so this is when it's used as a verb for separating something here. Yebadelo, Yebadlu, Vayibadlu. Okay, here we go. And they separated out Zerah, the seeds of the Israelites, that is the descendants of the Israelites, Zerah, Israel. The Israelites separated themselves from all of Mikol, Bnei Nekar, from all the sons of the foreigners, who Yemadu, and they stood upright. Yemadu, like a column. Amad is the column. The Yemadu. They Yitvadu, and they confessed. Yitvadu. Al ha totechem. Al ha totechem. Ve aonot abotechem. And this is sins, hatotahem, their sins of them, of the fathers of them. Okay, so this is iniquities, and these two words are very similar. They sound the same, but they're different words. Hatotahem, abotachem. Now I'm the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. If you take the bad here, this Bet Dalet, and put an ayin in the front of it, that is service or slavery. And this, of course, was an affirmation of the Lord when he brought them out of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. Egypt for Israel was a house of slavery. So adding an ayin to the front of the bad makes it slavery, makes it serving or slavery. Often, or many times, it's regarded in a negative sense, but it can also, this is one word that does have a positive sense of being a good servant. There's such thing as a good servant. So it isn't, it's a word that, based on its context, well, either good or bad. In this case, of course, slavery was bad, so abadim. So I'm the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. Anochi Yahweh Elohecha asher hotzitecha, who brought you out of Ma'eretz, from the land of Mishraim, the land of Egypt. Mibeit, from the house abadim, from the house of the slaveries, the hard serverdom, the hard work, hard oppressions. Okay, abadim. There's an atna here and there's an atna here, which is a little strange. Usually in any verse you will not see two atnas, but you do have an atna right here, Elohecha, and you have another one right here up beside the siluk. And that's also very different. It's for accenting. It's kind of an interesting situation to have an atna and a siluk side by side. Must mean they want to make this one just a little bit stronger here. Abadim. Okay, Sof Pasuk ends the verse, of course, right here. So, abadim, you're really, really bad house of slaveries. Proverbs 15:11, and you can take bad, here you got Bet Dalet, and when you add an aleph to the front of it, the previous one was an ayin, so but you can add an aleph to the front of it as well, abed, and then that is destruction. That is, destruction right here. Seol ve'Abaddon, and Abaddon is also another title for the destroyer. That is Satan. In fact, in the New Testament, the book of Revelation, you have the identification of Abaddon, and it says in Hebrew it's Abaddon, in Greek it's Apollyon. So you got that comparison made in the New Testament. Sheol ve'Abaddon neged Yahweh, the Sheol and Abaddon are before the Lord. There's something that when you have something that's before the Lord stands in judgment of it. Okay, so it's that is death and destruction are before the Lord. The Lord stands in judgment of Sheol and Abaddon, and Afki lebot bnei Adam, and so much more the hearts of the sons of man, and sons of man, Adam. So some translators just leave it Sheol ve'Abaddon. This was, of course, the Hebrew, what it would sound like. This is the translation of that, death and destruction. Sheol is the place of death. It's just a designation of where people have died are placed, and then Abaddon is the destruction. This, by the way, to me is an emphatic nun. Numbers 24:20, and he saw Amalek, and he lifted up this prophecy, and he said, Amalek was the head of the nations, but his end is destruction. Now, Balaam's supposed to be giving good prophecies, but he's giving prophecies which are of the Lord, and this is one of them right here. So Amalek, of course, appears numerous times in here. Amalek is here, and Amalek was right here. And he saw Amalek, lifted up this prophecy, and he said, Amalek was the head of the nations, but his end is destruction, Obed. That's why I picked this verse here. This is the word destruction based on the Bet Dalet. You have a Bet Dalet, put an aleph in front of it, and you have destruction. Ve'yareh et Amalek ve'yetza, okay, lifted up. Mashshalu, this is prophecy or proverb. Mishalo. Yomar, okay, this is Yomar is almost always a Milel, but this is a Milra accent right here. Yomar. Rishit, this is the head of, he's the head of the Goyim. Amalek is the head of the nations. But, and this then has to be a comparative vav right here. But Achrito, it's ending. It's the aftermath. Okay, Achrito, Edet of the future is Obed, is to be destroyed, destruction. Elijah said to the people, I am left alone, a prophet to Jehovah, and the prophets of Baal are 450 men. Now, of course, Lebadi, this is to be left alone, and this is the first person singular here. Alone I am, okay? Lebadi. alone I am. Vayomer Eliyahu, Jehovah is God. Vayomer Eliyahu, Elijah, El Ha'am, to the people, Ani, I am, Not Tarti, I am left alone. I am, left. I'm the only one that's left over. Not Tarti. Nabi, prophet, Le Yahweh, prophet of Jehovah, I'm the only one that's left. Lebadi, alone. Okay, Lebadi, all by myself here. Lebadi. Nebi, and the prophets, Habal of Baal, Arba Mayot, 400, Mishim, and 50 Ish men. Each one of those, Hamishim Ish. So 450 men. Genesis 2:18, and so we've gone through and done a really nice study of Lebado, and based on that study, I'm going to take the word alone or self, okay, being alone or self, and tie up the whole matter of what it means to be by yourself. Lebad, okay, bad, it's a bad thing, bad. So taking that whole that whole background of this particular word, this is what we can understand a little bit deeper, or a little bit the backstory of this particular verse right here. And Jehovah God said, it's not good for man to self-destruct. In other words, most translations just say it's not good to be alone, but being alone means self-destructing. So this is, and we find that that's how this particular word bad is used. Okay, so it's and it's used in multiple ways, and we've seen a lot of ways in how it's used, but all of them kind of point to the central fact that being alone is not such a good thing, at least for a human being. By the way, when you use this word for God, that's fine. I mean, the Lord he must be worshipped alone. Don't add anything to that. But for a human being, yes, levado can be self-destruction. Vayomer Yahweh Elohim lo tov heyot ha'adam levado eshe lo etzel kenegdo, a help person who stands in front of him, a help meet. And this is the classic King James translation of etzer kenegdo, and when we understand it, this person stands before us and helps us avoid self-destruction. In other words, being a helpmeet is a great help for watching out for self-destructive activities. And we find in the New Testament one of the conditions of being an overseer, a bishop, or a pastor, or somebody who has oversight of others. An overseer, therefore, must be above reproach, the husband of one wife, self-controlled, sensible, respectable, hospitable, and an able teacher. Being the wife, the etzer kenegdo, is something that helps the husband, helps the overseer to fulfill his role and to avoid self-destruction while he's involved. So it's a person who always calling to account, always checking, always being sensitive of what's happening. And this is really a tremendous role for the etzer kenegdo, the wife of the overseer, the leader. Religious leaders need somebody to call them to account, and often the spouse is one of the first ones to call them to account. So Lord bless you, and may the Lord keep you from destroying yourself, and may, if you have a spouse, help you in that matter as well. The Lord bless you in this day. Until the next time.